Hi, everybody. This is David Kamatoy, and welcome to the davidkamatoy.com show. We're streaming live, playing with the new format. So thank you, both of you. Joining today's show is a live stream event. We are doing a Black Business Roundtable to celebrate the end of Black History Month. If you're just joining us, you can find me at davidkamatoy.com or the original blog at davidkamatoy.guru. And additionally, just so you know, this format is basically streaming live. Then we're going to cut the show so that for an edited version and also for television on KZTC 7 broadcasting in San Diego. So it's like sort of watching a show, sort of watching a podcast, it's a little loose. Let's just put it that way. It's a little loose. Joining us, my co-host and incredible partner in success, Mark Christopher Lawrence is here with us. Actor, producer, director, incredible entrepreneur. Mark, thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me. I don't know if you can hear me because it looks like my picture is frozen over yours.
You're just very still. You're just very still.
The zag nut.
I'm sure it'll catch. Welcome to live. I'm sure it'll catch up in a second. Also, joining us, Steph Gross with TigerShare.com. Master networker and incredible entrepreneur, local sending as well. Also, my great one of my oldest clients, I should say, and good friend Del Lewis, serial entrepreneur, Trifecta.com. Incredible. We're going to talk about what he's doing in the community, and it's just an amazing history in business. The thing about Del is that Del has projects in like the uppermost, I would say the intellectual stuff. I mean, it's like where you buy a business, you build a business, you sell a business, and then he's on the ground working with core entrepreneurs at a multi-level marketing level. So it's just, just a huge breadth of entrepreneurship. And new to the panel, Tanisha Smith, longtime but founder of our RBSD or Black San Diego. We just went to her event yesterday, and it was, what was the name of the event? I'm sorry.
Dago Eats. BSD presents Dago Eats.
Dago Eats was this great food truck show, food show in Southeast San Diego, and it was packed. It was absolutely packed. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Mark had to jump off for a moment. So what we want to do is start off the let me just bring it back. So what we want to do to start off the show is when Mark comes back is we want to kind of, these are my topics for the day, and they go like this. One is we want to network with the businesses that are in the room. That's the first thing. And so we want you watching the show to get to know the people that are on the panel and their businesses. And in addition, we want to talk a little bit about Black History Month and in the sense that, what are we seeing towards trends? And I think because we're people first. Recently there was I had an interesting exchange between an Emmy producer, an Emmy winner here in town, and there was a news reporter who actually got an Asian news reporter originally from San Francisco, now in New York. She got yelled at. I mean, somebody drove by and said, "Go back to your country," and of course we all know that the upticks of this stuff is happening in the current climate. And the thing that dawned on me was that I twittered back and I said something funny and which was, well, technically American Indian DNA comes from East Asia. So technically our DNA was here first. And so, which she found funny. But the thing is, Sorry, I got it, Mark. There we go. But the thing about it is that the response was, this is my country, and I really think the framing now should be, this is our country, instead of, because we're all here.
Right.
You know, it's like we're all in the same place. It's like it doesn't matter, because we're all part of the same community, and so that's kind of the basis of this discussion. And I think Dell really had a nice frame on this. Dell, if you want to talk about that.
Oh, sure. When you and I first started to talk about this show, you had said that you wanted to do something on the heels of Black History Month. And I thought that was great, because I think it's great to recognize history in a number of different facets, right? But my comment to you was, I think that's a wonderful idea. And I think this show should be about entrepreneurship, featuring entrepreneurs who just happen to be Black or African American or of darker skin, because that's not who we are first and foremost. I like to think I'm a business person, and I'm on with fellow business people. We just may all happen to have the same hue to the color of our skin on this particular show, but that's not what matters the most.
Exactly. And to start off this sort of discussion, what I want to do is, I would like to let's start by going around the table, the virtual table, and go ahead and introduce yourself towards what you're doing, the project that you're working on. And then, because it's we're talking about Black history, let's talk about, is there something new that you learned in this last month, or is there something that inspired you within this last month? And then we'll take it into our business world. Dell, you're up there. Go ahead first. Talk to us, sir.
Yeah. So anyway, Dell Lewis, as David introduced me, my company, my parent company is Triclear Business Holdings, but you can find us at triclear.com. And in a nutshell, we invest in and build entrepreneurs. We're a venturepreneurial company. And we also create tools and systems for entrepreneurs to use to help them increase their effectiveness and their efficiency. So kind of a combination of the things that we do. This month has been interesting for me because, as we all can say, over the last several years, however long we've been on this planet, we've all gone through several Black History Months, right? But I think this year, because of all the different things that are going on, COVID-19, all of our political, ins and outs and challenges and whatnot, I started to pay a little bit more attention to what was going on around Black history this month. And it's been really, really fascinating, and for me. And I don't want to get deep down into this rabbit hole, nor do I want to be a downer, because I'm basically a very optimistic, positive person. But I really learned a lot more about just the sort of the challenges that we as a race have had as a result of the institution of slavery, and how it has just been pervasive for the last 250 years. And it's also interesting to me to see the different perceptions and observations on it. And again, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail on it, but you asked, what did I learn this month? I actually learned a lot. And you say, how many Black History Months have you gone through, Dell? I won't even tell you. I won't tell you how old I am and how many different Black History Months I've gone through. But let me tell you, it's a lot. But, and I think everything happens for a reason, right? So the fact that I'm stuck here in my office, in my home office, and I've got more time to do some of these things has been a blessing in many respects, that I've been able to learn some of those things. And then the last piece that you asked me to touch on was, of the various things that I'm doing and I'm doing through my business and my team and I are doing, the thing that I'm most excited about is a product launch that's coming out in the next several months, which has to do with helping those that have decided to build businesses in network marketing. Because I think network marketing it's actually gotten what I would say a well-deserved bum rap for a number of years. And what I want to do is I want to undo the bum rap, and I want to repackage it so that people can actually take that and legitimately, ethically, with pride, build a business for themselves with that model. And I can say more about that later, but the product will be launching in the next several months, and I think everybody will be blown away by it.
No, it's very exciting. And also, once again, you can visit him at triclareholdings.com is the main site. And we're going to talk about another call to action a little bit later. But that's Del. And Del, once again, thank you. It's good to reconnect. I mean, we've sort of been I'm coming out of this is my version of coming out of the COVID shell. It's like, I drive up to your area like every week, and that was even though we can't see each other, but kind of funny. All right, sir. We'll come back to you in a bit. Also joining us, let's go to Tanisha Smith,
Hello.
rbsd.com. Again, first time. Thanks for being here.
No problem. Thank you for having me. So my name is Tanisha Smith. I'm co-founder of Black San Diego, Empowering Our Community. So we have a membership of 37,000 members on Facebook. We started off just collecting Black-owned businesses. So I put a post on Facebook asking, where are the Black-owned businesses in San Diego? And this was in May of 2016. We have a large community of military in San Diego. And so a lot of times what happens when they come in, they're looking for the Black community or Black-owned businesses because they're coming from either down south or back east. And so when I asked that question, people started to reach out, and the co-founder Cherie Jones had an idea to link and have a networking event because she is a real estate realtor. So we did that. We had a network that had about 100 or so businesses come through, and we started to build on that to where, like I said, right now we have over 37,000 members. And what we started to realize is that Black businesses were lacking in the things that were needed to sustain. So we said, hey, this is something that we need to kind of look into. They need resources. And so this past December, we started a nonprofit. And what we want to do with the nonprofit is be able to offer the tools and resources, education, and workshops for Black business owners to be able to not only start, but develop and then also sustain their business so that they can last. And I know you asked, what did you learn during Black History Month? Something that we learned about businesses is that once the pandemic hit, over 41% of the businesses had to close because they did not have the resources and things like that to sustain and to actually last. Some of them that were deemed essential were able to kind of hold out and make it, but a lot of them just did not have paperwork that was needed to fill out PPP loans and to get the grants and things like that because they just were not in compliance, so to say. And so that's what we do. We're here. We're a community hub. People can come and ask where anything, literally anything. Where can I get my hair done? Is there a pest control that's Black owned, or where can I find a mechanic? And that's kind of how it's like a safe place or a safe hub with motivation and people kind of cheering you on in your corner to go out and take the leap and be an entrepreneur. And even if for customers to find someone that can relate to them. So yeah, that's who we are. That's Black San Diego.
Fantastic. And once again, you can check them out at rbsd.com. And also, they're mainly on Facebook, the Facebook group, which I don't have up, but we'll put that in post-production. But what's the Facebook group?
It's Facebook. It's Black San Diego. Make sure every word has a space in between, because if you put any of the two words together, it could take you to another link. But Black space San space Diego. And you can see it because it'll say 37,000. We're also pretty big on Instagram as well, and we have an LLC and now have formed a nonprofit as well.
That's fantastic. Once again, check her out, and we're continuing this conversation, and that leans into an incredible conversation about Black businesses, how Black businesses are doing and interacting in the community. But let's go to Steph Gross, because actually you'll probably build on that. Steph.
Hey, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the David Kamatoy show. And it's a pleasure to meet Del and Tanisha and Mark Christopher Lawrence. I am so excited to be on with you right now. And Del, just your background for what David shared with me, I think our conversation at this roundtable is not only going to be very relevant and robust, but very timely for a lot of folks. I happen to be the president and CEO of our parent company, Built by PN Industries, which is an acronym for Brand, Utility, Interaction, Learning, and Thought. And we are the parent company of Legacy Parenting Survival Wear, which is an apparel line designed for new parents to engage with their new babies, but at the same time stimulates the cognitive learning mechanism within the babies through the infant vision spectrum. And so I created that back in 2009, R&D'd it until 2013, and then we launched and we're out in the marketplace, as well as meeting with a number of larger retailers, more regional retailers. But in our other division, we have Trifecta Business Strategies. And through Trifecta Business Strategies, we offer a number of services, referral marketing, which is right in line with you, Del, in terms of that network marketing piece. But we do some P&L risk management, which by trade, I was a 17-year fraud investigator for a number of retailers, national retail chains, as well as some banking industries, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and such. So after that, within Trifecta Business Strategies, we built out a little conglomerate of some other partner organizations where the three of us rotate as a prime as we go after various RFPs in the climate action realm, as well as a number of marketing strategies. So like Del, very serial entrepreneurish, but more importantly, most recently, I'm the co-founder of Tiger Share. Tiger Share, and this is really where we really align. And Del, taking parts of your MLM aspects, but not so much. Tiger Share, we are creating the real share economy. Currently, we share our homes, we share our food, we share our rides, we share our cars, we share our economic struggle. But what we don't share is our economic prosperity. And so through Tiger Share, we are actually creating the real share economy, where every aspect of a transaction, of a business relationship, of a business transaction is coalesced and everyone gets a piece of it. And our strategy is much more inclusive and really is disruptive to the current capitalistic society and system that we have in place. You know, you ask the question, what have you learned this past month? And I'm going to answer it this way. Over the past 400 years, the Black community wasn't even seen as human 400 years ago. And then when we were seen as human, we were only given the level, the respect of a pet. Go get me this, go get me that. But meanwhile, the entire economy kept moving on without having a mechanism to interject the Black community. And when you fast forward to today, the Black community has never had any money. So which means we've never had any leverage, which means we've never, as a community as a whole, had a seat at anyone's table. And so as I helped to co-found Tiger Share, we really took the mindset to say, hey, let's look at Black history. Let's offer the Black community a new position in our current economic environment. Because taking pages from a Rosa Parks, it wasn't about what Rosa did on the bus. It's about what she did when she got off the bus. It's about her saying, hey, if we're going to be treated like that, then we don't need to give them our revenue. We don't need to give them our Black money. We'll carpool, we'll walk, we'll do everything but. In that particular moment in time, when we created the leverage, we were invited back. And we were getting seats on the bus where we wanted to sit. And so I take that as my entrepreneurial spirit and bring that to this conversation, because it's really about creating a true share economy for everyone.
Fantastic. Once again, Steph Gross. And Steph, what's the main connecting website for you right now for everybody?
Let's go to trifectabusinessstrategies.com. I think that's probably the most relevant, where we have a portfolio of a lot of resources for folks, as well as our own specialty services.
Got it. I'll bring that up in a second. It's hard for me to find. Once I get that up, I'll bring back to you.
For sure. Thank you.
So once again, Mark's having a little bit of connectivity issues, which that's the one challenge in the virtual world. You know, a lot of times, that's one of the reasons we decided to do the show at 3, because in San Diego, you know, this is where internet traffic starts to pick up. Like around 5 o'clock is a hot time, you know, so it's like we're trying to avoid trying to do anything after 5 just because this could happen. So if
What do you
Mark's
want, any time?
well, yeah, if Mark's able to join us, he will, but he right now he's frozen, so so we'll see what's going on.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear. Do you want to speak as a dark screen?
As a frozen face.
Yeah, no, dude, that's you know, it's like yeah, there you go. No, I'll pull up your website. How about that?
Yeah, pull up the site. I think you know, my contribution would be that this Black History Month, back in December, I worked at Tyler Perry Studios. And, you know, when we talk about having seats at the table, you know, Tyler didn't feel like he had a seat at the table, so he created his own table. And, you know, I've been a professional actor for 35 years now, and I've worked every major studio in the country. And Tyler's is a major motion picture studio. And he does something that none of the other studios have. He has housing on campus. So when everything shut down during the pandemic, he only shut down for a month and then was able to create a bubble that kept everybody working all this time. So I think, you know, when we're talking about Black history, you know, future history, Tyler will be in the conversation every time. You know, personally, I'm producing and trying to get some projects off the ground, and I'm just feel blessed to have worked over there, because now I have an inroad to them via their head of development. But I think what my man was saying earlier about us creating and creating our own space and creating our own ability to stop waiting for, you know, gifts. That's what we have to do, because if you can create and manage your own destiny and you don't, then you've wasted yourself.
Fantastic. Yeah, and again, it's amazing because, you know, Mark and I have known each other for a long time, and the thing about Mark is the fact that he's insanely accessible and incredibly personable, and it's like it's great to have him on. But the thing is, one of the things that constantly happens, Mark, is whenever you say, you know, it's like he lives in San Diego, they think you live in LA. You know, but the thing is, I also think that conversation also comes up when they say, "Oh, what do you mean you're a business guy? You own a business? You're an entrepreneur? I thought you were just an actor." You know, so and I think that's it's one of the themes of the multi-creative entrepreneur myself, is that, you know, if you know us, you know everything that we do. If you don't know us, then if you don't know someone, then you become pigeonholed. You know, they know you as, oh, you're the juggler, which I'm known at, you know, in a lot of ways, or you're the business guy, or you're the, you know, it's like that becomes the variation on the theme. So I'm David Kamatoy. Once again, you're watching the davidkamatoy.com show. You can check us out at .com or .guru. Also on Twitter. That's like the main place I hang out socially online. And you can message us, at least right now, on YouTube, Facebook, on Real Stream, but YouTube and Facebook, the chat is open if you want to message us. My thing is that the two major things we do, obviously this show, but we have a platform called Juggle Mail, and of course we work with developing media projects, including everything from business projects to literally film and television, and for the last several years I've produced a lot of talk, TV and radio. But the thing this last month, sort of the big touchstone towards what I learned in Black History Month. Oh, and by the way, I always say, a lot of people don't know this, but I used to say this on the show, I'm a brown guy who grew up in a black neighborhood and went to white private schools. So that is my, because people watching this show are like, well, what's he doing hosting the show? But the other thing is that San Diego is absolutely we're a very, there's not a lot of divisions in San Diego. I mean, people go to each other's racial events and don't even think twice about it, So it's like, let's be clear about that. Is that, we're, again, like I said, this is, we're a big community in San Diego for sure. But the thing that was fascinating about me learning was, towards Black History Month was that Stephen Prendergast and I did some research, and it was fascinating to note that it's like Black history. Not, I shouldn't say that, but I mean, like, people think of Black. You guys brought up the idea that Black businesses have had issues over the years, right? And it's sort of like, when you look at it historically, everyone sort of wakes up around 1960. It's like, well, what happened before that? You know what I mean? Like, what happened before everybody said, oh, you're actually, it's like, and so most people know about Tulsa. And if you don't, look it up. And I'm not going to bring it up right now, but basically it was, the Black Wall Street, and it was attacked and taken down. And that was 1926. Was that right?
That's correct.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. In 1926, right? But and so people go, okay, well, that's an example of businesses coming up and the system, or another group of people putting them down. But a lot of people don't know about Wilmington. And Wilmington happened in 1890. And it's fascinating. And I'll put a link under the show so you can check it out. But Wilmington was Virginia, right? Wilmington was basically a community that, at the time, again, roles reversed, right? The Republicans had a hybrid, leadership with the Black community, and there were Black leaders in Wilmington. And it's the only actual coup d'etat, and that's why it came up in the search engines, of what went down. And basically, comically, Democrats, which is weird, because, again, but they basically, they took over Wilmington. 60 people were killed. Black people fled. There were over 100,000 registered voters in 1890, and 6 years later, there were 6,000. So, you know what I mean? Like, so, and a lot of people don't know that this. I talked to several people that I know in the community. I'm like, did you know about this? And they're like, I had no idea. I had no idea.
There are so many more of those stories, like, all across the country too, like that were just pushed to the side and never brought to the forefront. And I teach 8th grade physical education at Horseman, and I teach physical education, but I find a way to put in these Black history moments in PE. And I know the kids are always like, what does this have to do with PE? But I have to throw it in somewhere, because they're not getting our true and complete history. There's always, the Martin Luther Kings, the Rosa Parks, the Harriet Tubmans, but then we're not getting the Tulsas and the Black Panthers, and all everything else that comes with it. And by the end of I do a different fact every day, and by the end of the month, like today when I came on Zoom, they're like, hey, are we getting our Black history fact today? And I'm like, okay, it was last month, but don't let that stop you from getting more. You know what I mean? It's something that, yes, it was all over the country, and we only know about, very few about Harlem. We know about Tulsa, but we don't know of all the other little hidden gems that were out there. So hopefully we're building that in San Diego as well. We're working on the 8 blocks, getting it named as the Black Arts and Cultural Business District. That's in the works right now. So if any of you guys can want to contribute to that at all, we're working on getting the signage and getting it approved by the city as the Black District right now. So we want to carry on.
That's fantastic. And again, but to kind of put this whole thing in perspective, basically the idea is that there's there's just a lot of history of fighting back, and that's why I want to move the conversation onto like what's happening now, because it's like most people I know, they're it's like we're not angry at all. It's like we all, again, what Adele was saying, we're business people. I mean, we're entrepreneurs, we're entertainers, we work in the field, and it comes down to a theme of this show that we want to perpetuate in the theme of this group, which is because of the pandemic. There are basically like, I put them into 3 categories, right? One category is you have a failed business. It blew up or it's blowing up. It's gone boom, and again, we could talk about the numbers of Black business versus white businesses, but that's across the board. That doesn't matter. It's like people have blown up. The second category, which a lot of us are in, are sort of the treading water category, meaning that we're moving a little bit ahead, a little bit behind, but because of the pandemic, it's like one big pause button. For whatever reason, we may have lost a little, we may have done a little, but for all intents and purposes, we're still there. We haven't financially blown up, but we're still there. And then the third category, which is like, Shambui with Hey Sugar, is that you have a business that actually started and is growing for whatever reason in the pandemic, whether it's medical related, whether it's because they started and they didn't, they started in the pandemic. But all of those businesses ultimately, there's 2 things that this show will propagate till the end of time, which is which is one, build a solid web presence online. You have no excuses. All those things that you thought of doing. Oh, if I only had time. Well, you've had a lot of time. So like your web presence is something that you should have or should be working on. And the second thing that I will constantly enforce, because also we have Juggle Mail, a CRM, and an email marketing program. But the reality of like, well, people always say email marketing is dead and this is dead. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. The problem is that you don't own Facebook. You don't own Twitter. You don't own LinkedIn. All those platforms that we're streaming on right now, they could delete our account at any moment. And you've seen it. Obviously, happened to Trump, happened to a lot of different people, but but it happens. And you're talking about the former president getting canceled. If he can't fight back, who can? You know what I mean? But there are a lot of small business owners and people that I know that get canceled. We've had accounts canceled. So I know that it happens. And this is one of the reasons why build a great following, and 2, build your database, your actual opt-in email, your real follow. I mean, I'm talking pick up the phone. People go, oh, I have a lot of people following me on Facebook, but who can you pick up the phone and call? Do you know where they live? I don't mean that in a stalker way, but I'm just saying, it's like, that's your real database. But that's your real database.
David, to that point, I think that's why we at Tiger Share are so adamant about our share economy, creating the share economy, because you just listed Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, all those softwares, all that software. We are at the invitation level of it. So we've been doing nothing but inviting people to say, hey, this is the moment when Mark Zuckerberg is sitting in his dorm room thinking about creating Facebook. And we want you to be a part of it. Doesn't cost you anything. All you have to do is just say yes, and we will do all the heavy lifting. And then you come along and you're like, hey, well, I got a CRM that can support it. I got Juggle Mail, this, that, and the other. And we're like, hey, great. Because it's that shared community towards shared prosperity.
Fantastic. So the question on the table is effect of the pandemic, good and bad. I just sort of want to check in with everybody to see how things are faring in business. And it doesn't necessarily need to be about you, but something that can contribute to the conversation towards the effect of the pandemic, and in reference to good and bad. Del Lewis.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'll just give sort of a precursor. In 1929 through 1935 or so, you may not realize it or know it, but there were several millionaires that were created during that time. And this is sort of the epitome of the entrepreneurial spirit or the entrepreneurial genius. It's being able to see the opportunity and take advantage of the opportunity. So by way of example, one of my partnership portfolios, companies that's in my portfolio, is an organization that essentially creates private advisory boards for CEOs, for middle market CEOs. And we bring these CEOs together and we facilitate these private advisory boards. And so I actually facilitate one that's out of Orange County. And I was telling them at the beginning of this pandemic, I said, mark my words, because things are going to have to change for you and you will make changes. But let me tell you, some of the things will not go back to what you thought was normal. And some of the changes that you make will actually be significantly better for your business. This is the silver lining in something like this. There's a silver lining in every single quote unquote crisis. And so I checked in, and we meet every month, but it was coming on a year of this pandemic, and I checked back in with them. I said, remember what we talked about? And I told you that there were going to be things that you were going to have to change in your business, and some of them were going to make a significant positive impact on your business. And we went around the room, and it was amazing the things that they had come up with as a result of this pandemic that actually changed their business. And I did a poll. There's 15 of them. 2 of them are in the food service business. Both of them are doing fine. They are not thriving. They are doing fine, and they actually are up a little bit. But by and large, the organizations in that group are either on par or doing better than they did in 2018, 2019.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's just all about the way that you see things. There's opportunity in anything and everything. And so I hope that answers your questions and gives you some examples of a way to look at it. And it doesn't matter how big you are. You can do this if you've got $10 in the bank and you just started your business.
Right. As the macrocosm is the microcosm. The microcosm is the macrocosm. That's the thing about a lot. That's the reason one of the reasons we're doing the show is that you have to understand that everything we're talking about is scalable. Everything is scalable, meaning no budget, a little bit of budget, some budget, a big budget. Please call us. But everything is essentially scalable. And so one of the things that, because this is not just this is definitely not just a Black business thing. There are a lot of people in our category that weren't set up for PPP. You know what I mean? Because, and it if you look at the numbers, you could say, there are numbers, trust me, there are bad numbers out there. For ethnic versus, but there are other people, like a lot of the businesses I know and work with didn't qualify. A bunch did. And so, but the reason I bring that up is that this is one of those things where, and Del could really, Del is like my guy, is definitely, I need you to be my guy in this, is that we need to inspire people for structure. Because what is a business? A business is essentially systems. It's structure. That's the difference between the guy in the corner versus someone who owns multiple restaurants. Mm-hmm. And so if you're watching the show and your solution has been, I'll do it myself, that's not a solution. That only goes so far. You know what I mean? Like McDonald's doesn't happen if Kroc, who bought it, but I'll do it myself. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't learn how to do it yourself. I'm saying you cannot you cannot do everything. You cannot build the website, do the graphic printing, do everything across the board. And that's a problem. And so, but one of those systems was simply banking relationships. And that is why a lot of businesses got stuck in the cold for the PPP, because one, especially in California, no employees, because in California, you make money. You're trying not to make money in the state of California, not make money on paper. And two, so you needed to pay people. You need to set up as a corporation and pay yourself. And then the other thing was relationships with banks. And that's the thing that a lot of entrepreneurs do not have. If you're used to working from cash and you do not understand credit, you don't understand that, because most people look at credit and they go, oh, I have $20,000 of credit. I'll use $20,000 of credit. No, you should be using 20% of that credit, not 100% of that credit, because then you can get more. And also the banks look at you as being fundable based on your relationship with banks. So of course, because PPP is basically SBA. And so what happened was that they just said, who do we have relationships? It only makes sense that the people that they lended to were the people that they had relationships with. Okay, that's just common sense. I mean, you can be mad all you want, but that's common sense. So our job is to be in structure. Our job is to realize that our system in America is based pro-business. So we should register as a corporation. We should have employees. We should get insurance. We should incorporate in other states as well. And be set up to get loans and have banking relationships, even though you think you don't need it. I'm going to go to Del for a second because I know you want to say something.
Oh, no, I just agree with you 100%. I think Steph might want to chime in here, something in that regard, but I agree with you 100%.
No, and I'm in total agreement, but I'm going to take a page from Tanisia's book and just really say everything that you're talking about really goes back to the financial literacy piece that our community, that the Black community hasn't been exposed to, over generations. And so had the financial literacy piece been in place today, we would have had many more banking relationships as well as networked relationships. So I totally agree with you, but it starts really about understanding our finances. And when you talk about credit, which really came into existence in the late 60s, early 70s, that was really to the detriment of several communities. And so when you fast forward to today and you have a PPP situation, a number of people haven't recovered from their credit debt. They certainly haven't recovered from the real estate bust in 2008, 2009. And here we are, they're trying to get a PPP loan with an institution that may give it to them, but they may not, to your point, have the infrastructure to even pay it back because they don't know how to scale, differentiate, and really bring a revenue or value or product or service back to the marketplace that they can repay that particular loan, that PPP loan, or, if it's a grant, obviously that's on gratis and all, but at the end of the day, we become even much more of a debtor nation and debtor entrepreneurs.
Right. I mean, ultimately, again, we have to move forward. We have to create a business. It's not, it's like that's the ultimate goal. And that is one of the challenges. That's another reason why it's like we're sort of forward thinking, at least with our group. We're like, well, let's focus on getting business done. And so that brings up the question. Now, Steph, I wanted to go to you for a quick second because you had if you want to talk about this, because, we're San Diego centric right now, but you had a discussion with some people outside of San Diego towards the community. And I don't know if you want to touch on that, but because part of the thing is like what's happening in the rest of the country, because again, we have sun, we have government contracts here. There's things that are happening in our community that don't equal the rest of the country.
So yeah, thank you for that segue, David. So we launched our tech on Retail Black Friday through a Facebook group that has 1.9 million folks in it, and their goal was to take back Retail Black Friday for the Black community. That was the goal. That was their impetus. That's what they wanted to do. So they're like, hey, can we use Tire Share to make that happen? We're like, absolutely. So we do a soft launch and we roll it out with them, bringing in the 1.9 million folks, and they onboard and become members within our particular network, as well as 827 businesses have joined to participate in the program. Again, that's a lot of businesses to come all at once to onboard. And then fast forward to MLK's birthday, right? MLK Day. So we do a little firmer launch, and we start acquiring more businesses and picking up some more momentum. But what you're talking about is my conversation with those businesses across the United States. And I'm a firm believer, and I'll stand my ground and say this. We here in San Diego are in our own bubble. We are a bit jaded. We suffer, yes, but we don't suffer like the folks in Victorville in the high desert, San Bernardino even. We don't suffer like the folks in Detroit. My conversation this morning were folks who were right outside of 8 Mile. We don't suffer like folks in the outskirts of Mississippi and Alabama. We've been doing some real estate speculation and reinvestment there. Those folks are struggling. We're kind of like, hey, we're San Diego. We can unify. We can network. We can have our parties. We can have our events. We're going to be okay. We are. But we are actually really dependent on the other sectors and states around us.
Oh, I think we lost Steph.
Lost him. There he goes.
He's back.
Sorry, lost you for a second.
The Black community represents 13% of the population in the United States. And so we have a hard time even knowing who our brothers and sisters are in San Diego, let alone what goes on outside of it. And so we are really struggled in that sense. But there are other communities that are just desperate and are hurting.
Fantastic. Yeah, it was one of those things because even as the economy starts to move forward, with the new administration, the stimulus package being signed, we'll get stimulus checks. That's a little bit of, but basically, this is the same cycle that we were back in 2008, 2009, which is another reason why it's great that, Biden knows. I mean, I know, and people are like right, left. I'm like, no, but you're talking about a guy who actually was there before the last time this happened. So that helps all of us. And so, but what you're going to see is as the pandemic starts to change over this next 6 months and the economy, you're going to see everything being stimulated. And see, this is why it's an opportunity. You have to go, at some point you have to get over yourself and say, okay, now I need to focus on what's going to happen ahead of me. Because the world is now, we're on a climb, so 3 years from now, people will be charging what they used to charge or more. Right now, you can get everyone to help you, like on a deal. It's crazy. But the other reason I bring that up is that that natural cycle of things is something that we all need to pay attention to and focus our businesses on. And in growth. Tanisha, I want to talk to you for a second, a little bit about, again, just larger community stuff when it comes to the impact and really how we move forward from here with some of the work that you're doing, because I think we're all on the same page in that regard. But do you have something to contribute with that?
Well, yeah, you spoke of systems and structure. And so what we're trying to do, what we've been doing is we implemented a program called the B6 program. And it's just not everything you possibly could need to start a business, but just some of those basic things like getting your DBA or learning how to incorporate, getting your fictitious business license, getting a business bank account, getting insurance. And I think what happens when we interact with these people, with our business owners and our community members on a daily basis, and what it is a lot of mistrust and just not believing that you need all of these things. And the mistrust comes from just things that we hit on earlier, just not being treated as human and not feeling as one. And so a lot of times people don't want to file all that paperwork. They don't want their names going through government systems. And even though we can understand why, we kind of have to get to a place to where we start to we have to trust the process, I guess, in the meantime. And we feel like we are able to do that because we are Black San Diego. We are on the ground. We are talking to these business owners. We are showing up at events. We are throwing our own events. And so we're showing like we can do this together. We will show you how. We try to put on webinars where people with specific skill sets are given the education behind what we are saying that they actually need. We're not just saying it and say, hey, buy into what we're saying. We are bringing experts on, and hopefully you guys will all come and share your knowledge with with our group. But literally just really trying to educate our community on why, because a lot of times they're making money out there, but they're not doing it to like, the paper trail is not there at the end of the year, and the reason they're not able to sustain it are because they're not structured as a business. And so like I said, the B6 program, you can find that on the website as well. That's one way we are contributing, is trying to find what the issues are within our community, and then not only find it, but then provide the solution based on what it is that we have found. Just really a listening ear to our community.
Thank you. There was a excuse me. There was a larger conversation that we wanted, that Steph and I started, that has to do with just this. And I actually was surprised by it when Steph brought it up, because again, Dell and I kind of live in the same little world when it comes to the fact that here's something that actually, Dell, you could probably say, trust but verify, trust but verify, trust but verify. One of the things that we're seeing is that it's sort of like the entrepreneur we've seen people that we've just recently helped that have been in the situation where they trusted somebody who said, I can do something, and then they didn't do it. You know what I mean? And that's thousands of dollars later. And then they come to me and I'm like, well, of course we'll handle that. And we just took care of it. Right. We didn't think, we just did it. I mean, it's just one of those things where, and I hope that by doing those types of things that we can reach out and say, but that's the point of trust but verify. And like what we've done, and I know what Dell and a lot of us, we're like the next people on the team. Like Dell and I are always like the third or fourth. Like if there's a project, like one or two people, we're like the extension of that group, if not on paper or just outsourcing or whatnot. But like I've had one of my clients literally was, he had a company with 800 employees in multiple countries. I produced a video in India over Skype, and he sits me down and he goes, I need you to run my shoe company. But people don't understand, like, that's how the conversation goes in our weird little entrepreneur world. But the reason I bring that up is that there is an issue with trusting people both in the community and out of the community. And, I just want to touch on that for a second, because I see it stopping people from growing. And I also see it stopping from people like what just happened. Somebody got bilked for thousands of dollars before they found us, and also I see people going, well, now I also see some people in that same category not completely trusting our advice, which is weird, but that's just, and so Dell, I don't know if you want to touch on this for a second.
Yeah, there's so many great pieces that I want to bring together, that the things that Tanisha brought up and things that Steph brought up that I'd like to try to bring together. And I'm going to go back to the comment about the financial literacy that both Tanisha and Steph brought up. I would change my opinion just slightly, in that not only is the Black community not educated, the African American community not educated, but in general, no one's really educated with financial literacy.
AB5.
AB5, agreed.
The biggest difference, though, is that in communities outside of the traditional, Black and brown communities, those people have an Uncle Harry, and they've got a cousin Joe, and they've got a sister Mary that they can rely on to help them, that they've paved that way. And this is why I love what Steph's got going with Tiger Share, and I love what Tanisha's got going with her group and the nonprofit, because it's starting to spread the wealth of information and education and expertise. And that's what, people that have historically been disadvantaged in a number of ways have not had access to. And that's another thing that I think I've learned over this last month, to answer that first question that you asked, is that I realized that I need to make myself, my company, and my infrastructure even more available to these communities. I've never been unavailable, but I realize now that I need to make myself more available.
Exactly.
And so I just wanted to sort of tie that in because there were some great points that both of them made.
And Dale, I just want to dovetail on what you said. I think culturally, some of the other cultures have that literacy embedded in them. If you look at the API community, that's a perfect example. You're not going to go be a police officer or a fire person, right? A fire member. You're going to go and be a CPA or a medical doctor. Like, it's ingrained in that culture.
Right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, one of the things that I, when we talk about the entertainment industry, especially in San Diego, or people that, because, I get constantly approached, obviously, for people saying, oh, I really want to sing. I really want to be an actor, right? Entertainment. Nobody ever says, I want to be a juggler, but that's another story. But basically, but these are things that commonly people want to do. They're like, oh, I have a dream of being, a movie star. And so there's questions that I always ask. I'm like, well, are you training? And most of the time they say, no, I'm self-taught. And I want to say, I can tell. But that's, and I don't, but I'm just saying that, but it's not just training. The other thing goes back to what you guys were saying, which is basically the thing about being in entertainment outside of Los Angeles is the fact that no one does it. I know Mark, and Mark knows, and we have our little bubble here, but basically no one around you makes movies professionally if you're sitting in the middle of Iowa. But if you grew up in Hollywood and LA or East or Burbank, yeah, your neighbor works on sets. You hung out with Miley at the last party. I mean, seriously, that's what happens in Los Angeles. And so again, generationally, we always say, now we're going back to, Dell and our world of entrepreneurship, but think about it. There's a reason why that, like, children of entrepreneurs have an idea and they say, I think I can do this, because they're surrounded with their parents' friends who say, yes, you can. I think I did something just like that, because they've done it before and they reinforced the idea. And you know what I'm saying? Because if you have this conversation of like, I really want to be a blank, and people go, isn't that a second career, or isn't that a part-time thing? They don't get it. They don't understand. It's like they don't understand. Oh, you could be an entrepreneur. Now, the one thing that's changed in the last, say, 15 years, 20 years is the fact that entrepreneurship is cool. That's like the one thing. Like, before, it used to be get a good, safe job, period. And that was the only path that was okay. And now it's common. Again, a lot of people still don't know how to do it, but now it's a cool thing.
Dave, I'm fully immersed in what you're saying right now, because I put this website up. And Tanisha, this goes right to kind of where you're at as well. My son comes to me and he says, hey, Dad, you know what? I'm frustrated with school and being locked in and COVID, and I need to find an outlet, and I really want to paint. I'm like, okay, cool. So we get him going on some painting, but he's like, now I want to sell it. Can we build a website? So we created artsypassion.com. And Tanisha, this goes back to what you were saying about creating our art district down there down in DA. Or excuse me, down in the neighborhood. Charles Bibbs reached out and said, hey, I want to meet Dario. And so some friends of a friend through a network is like, hey, Charles Bibbs wants to meet your son. And I'm like, what? When we talk about Black art and cultural art, like, that's the guy for today. And for him to want to reach out and follow that up, that goes to what you're saying, David. It's what who we surround ourselves with.
Right.
Correct.
Mentors.
And so just a tip when it comes to trust but verify, and this was taught to me by Nicholas, who was our former president of one of the companies I started, and he was the one that taught me this lesson. And he basically said, look, when you work with people, ask for 3 referrals. It's basic. It's like, hey, can you give me 3 referrals? You can know them. They don't need to be unsolicited, but I just want to talk to 3 people that have worked with you. And, you know, you may call 1 or 2 or 3 of those people, but within those 3 conversations, you'll get a pretty good idea of both the good and the bad of working with somebody. And I did this actually with my my electrical contractor, who we built a site for, Bryant Electrical. And this is why it's funny. Like we had a bunch of electricians show up, and I said, "Look, do me a favor, write me a quote." Seems normal, right, Del? Seems like duh. You know how many people did it? Like 2. And he actually gave me a written proposal. You know, and I said, okay, but now let me talk to a few people. And I did. He gave me referrals. I picked up the phone. I talked to somebody, and they said, yeah, he's great. You know, so it's like so these things, it's just a little business tip, but seriously, if you're worried about websites, if you're worried about working business to business, whatever, just say, hey, can I get 3 referrals? I just want to talk to somebody.
That's a
you
pro
can look. Go ahead, Steph.
No, I was saying that's a great pro tip. You know, when we do Wednesday Wisdom, we ask entrepreneurs like yourselves to offer a pro tip, and that's one that I think you can share. I'll be happy to share that in the network.
Very cool. Hey, we wanted to, we're coming up on an hour, and we kind of want to put the button on this. By the way, if you're wondering what happened to Mark Christopher Lawrence, his connection did not work, so he bowed out, and I'm glad he was able to contribute for a minute, but he will be back. He is part of this group. You know, we have several projects on the table we're working with. And just sort of, I want to, there's a video I want to show of our client who was actually at RBSD. But before we do that, I sort of want to put a button on this conversation. Once again, you can visit us at davidkamatoy.com. You can join the email list. I didn't set it up, but if you join the email list and send me an email, I'll connect you with everybody that's on the show for that reason. But if you join the list, you get on the email list. Our product is Juggle Mail, and which is basically an email marketing and CRM platform. And of course, we produce video. So if you have any idea towards content, please let us know. Del Lewis, your final words in CTA.
Oh my gosh. There was a couple of things that I wanted to say, and I hope you'll give me a little.
Oh, yeah, fine. We're not on television. That's the one. The best and bad thing about this format as well. Yeah, well, we have more time.
So, call to action wise, I was talking about making myself available and sharing, and so I have put together an offer through a website, and you can find it through dellewis.com. That's just DELLEWIS.com. And then / my question. Obviously, all one word, my question. And what I've done is I'm allowing entrepreneurs of any stage in their development, they could have been in business for 30 years or for 3 minutes, the ability to ask me your most pressing question. Now, I don't claim to be a know-it-all, and if I don't know the answer to your question, I will certainly tell you. But this is a great way for you to tap into my experience and my expertise over the number of years that I've been doing this. So please go there, ask me your question. I'll be more than happy to answer it. So that's one. The second one, if I can be so bold, is to give a second plug. And I'd like to do it by telling a story. As you talked about the situation in Wilmington in the 1890s, and I want to give you a story about how far things can come in 100 years. Now, 100 years may seem like it's a really long time, but if you go from 1890 or 1898 in Wilmington and that tragedy to 1990 to a city that's very close to Wilmington, North Carolina, called Cherry Point. And it was in that city in 1990 that there was a ship docked at the dock there. And 3 African Americans approached that ship that day who actually owned that ship. This was a large commercial cargo vessel. 3 African American entrepreneurs approached that ship that day because they were going to christen that ship as the brand new ship in their fleet of a company that they had started. The name of the company was Red River Shipping. And this was the launch of the very first African-American shipping company in the United States. That ship was to be on contract to the federal government and was employed for the federal government doing things for them for a number of years. But that was the launch of a brand new operation and a brand new shipping company in Cherry Point, North Carolina, just 100 years after the Wilmington tragedy. And if you'd like to know more about that story, and more particularly about one of those three entrepreneurs, I would suggest that you get my book, which is called Get Your Ship Together, and that's ship with a P, because this is a family-friendly show. It is called Get Your Ship Together, and it's the story of how myself and my two partners started our maritime shipping company. But that's how things can change in just 100 short years.
Fantastic, man. Yeah, I think that wins for stories. So once again, by the way, check out it's on the screen, and I'll put it once we recut this thing. I'll put all the links for everybody in the post. But again, that's why we're here. Please connect. We're going to continue networking and building out this community of entrepreneurship, and we definitely want to make it scalable. Period. Tanisha Smith, rbsd.com.
So we just really encourage any and everyone to donate and or sponsor the nonprofit so that we can start bringing education to businesses to have the resources that are needed to sustain. We have an app as well. So we spoke earlier about any of these platforms can cut you off at any time. So we've created an app. We've had it for about a year now. There's a directory of goodness, we have a whole bunch of Black businesses, a large number of Black businesses in the directory, as well as community events around San Diego. We started Dago Eats, and that's going to be the last Sunday of every month. And we really just created that platform so that those who did not have a storefront or an actual restaurant would have somewhere to showcase their culinary skills. And you can just stay tuned. We'll post it on the website. That's ourbsd.com. As to if the location changes, we did start to grow a little bit even from the second event. So if that location changes, we'll put it up there. And we just encourage you all to continue to support Black-owned businesses and circulate the dollar.
Fantastic. Once again, Tanisha Smith, rbsd.com. And I do encourage, if you're watching this and you're in San Diego, I greatly appreciate it. One of the things that about all these events is that, it's not just for the community, it's for the entire community. And we definitely want to, start reaching out and having, this thing grow, because, supporting each other's businesses, again, not just because they're Black or Filipino. It's like, we just need to support each other's businesses, because that's how this economy is going to grow. Steph Gross.
That was a great segue. Thank you very much, David, for that segue. In our particular world, we believe in the strongest word in the English language, which is and. Not the weakest word or, but the strongest word and. You can do this and that. The things that we do aren't trying to replace anything that you're trying to do or want to do. We just supplement it, and we just give it a force multiplier and an exponent. With the support of Urban Alchemy 360 and the Philam Chamber of Commerce and just a number of other organizations who have just kind of partnered with us and joined forces, Juggle Mail, through the CRM and davidkamatoy.com, we have really created the share economy in Tunisia. Here's how I see things right now. Right now, at this point in time in our society, me as a father, parent, head of household, homeowner, I have $1. I am currently forced in the decision-making process. Do I spend that $1 on getting food for my family, putting a roof over my head, paying my cell phone bill, getting diapers for the baby, taking care of my aunt, my pet, go on a date, or donate to my favorite charity? That's where I'm at. Or reinvest in my business, because I have $1, and that $1 comes from PPP if I get approved for it. Same thing with the nonprofits. They are fighting to get the attention of every resident and consumer out there to donate to their charity. And we call that the bucket, because every nonprofit is going after the same bucket of money. there is not an endless supply of money, although it seems like we're printing an endless supply of money, but there's not an endless supply of money. And so the grantors have to be very strategic on where they're putting their money. And yeah, right now the momentum and the wave is social justice and racial justice and support Black businesses. But history has proven that that has always tapered off as time has moved forward. You know, if you look at Detroit and J.P. Morgan Chase, they put a lot of money on the front end of a situation they created. Bank of America, the same thing. But on the back end, they're still siphoning all that money. And I was sharing this with David. It's not okay. And this is where my passion point comes. Dylan, I hope you're feeling me on this. It is not okay for Target, Walmart, Amazon, and Costco to accept EBT, because all of us taxpayers are contributing to the profitability of the wealthiest companies in the world. And we're doing it not only by paying our taxes and our sales taxes and our state taxes, but also through the purchases that we make there. It's not okay for us to do that, for them to accept EBT, because they're choking out local and small, medium-sized businesses by doing that, because that's where a lot of that money gets reinvested back into our communities. So we have to look at things in a very strategic manner, and that's what we do at Tiger Share. We put you, Black San Diego, in the middle of the transaction, not on the front end, not on the back end, in the middle of it, to make sure that everybody that supports you, you were supporting conversely. At the same time, the community is creating the swirl of activity that's needed for us to create real economic empowerment. And I'd love, obviously, to talk to you offline, to go into a much deeper conversation about it, to show you how you don't have to be sole dependent on donations and sponsorships and grant money, because there is a new path forward, and that's what we're forging right now. In this conversation at this roundtable, you both, Del, Tunisia, David, Mark Christopher Lawrence, all have an open invitation to say, yeah, I can get behind that, because you know what? It doesn't cost you a dime. It's free to everyone to participate.
Fantastic. Once again, check out Steph Gross at trifectabusinessstrategies.com, and Tiger Share is the project. And we're going to look deeper into, the loyalty program and upcoming shows. Once again, if you're watching, davidkamatoy.com is the main site. .guru, davidkamatoy.guru is the original blog, back when we did the original radio show and blog. And you can join the email list at either one of those sites. The ongoing project for anyone, of course, is our Jugglemail CRM, which competes against Salesforce and Infusionsoft, but we do it for less. And, of course, if you're interested in development, business development, media, if you're interested in working with anybody here, just send us an email. I mean, we could put together a nice conference call and start and discuss your business or project like we always do. And to that note, I wanted to show, Shambui couldn't join us today, but this was a video that we produced for her. It's the start of multiple videos, but we were able to do her website, and she was actually a part of the Dago Eats event. And also, if you're interested in events in San Diego to support the Black community, Soul Swap Meet and Dago Eats, those two are primary right now, and we visit both of them, and they're great, and it's great to see entrepreneurship on the ground. But here's a quick video, and then last thoughts, and then we'll sign off. But check this out.
Hey Sugar, I'm Sharon Boyd with Hey Sugar Sweets. At Hey Sugar Sweets, we serve the traditional Southern nostalgic desserts. Those desserts that you remember growing up with after Sunday service, family reunions, the desserts that bring you to the table, fill you with warmth and love. I started Hey Sugar Sweets after I retired after 20 years of military service, with the encouragement of a lot of friends and family that I have fed throughout the years. The reactions that I get from people when they taste the cake, they're like, oh my goodness, I haven't had something like this in a very long time. And that makes me feel really good to know that people enjoy my desserts that much. Right here today, we have a traditional caramel cake. It's a caramel cake layered with caramel frosting and drizzled with caramel ganache. Right here we have a cinnamon crunch cake. This cake is a cinnamon-based cake with a praline center, strudel, more like a strudel, center with topped with vanilla icing and cinnamon icing with the pecan buttery toasted crumble on top. So the story behind this recipe, this is actually a mixture of a few different cakes. So it's a mixture of a cinnamon cake, a sakatumi cake, and I love crumble, so I use the crumble, the coffee cake crumble. So this one pretty much, I haven't seen it done before. I like to call it my own because it's the deep brown, dark butter flavors that I love. I love rich flavors. This is a German chocolate cake. It's one of my favorite cakes. It is a gooey, pecan, brown sugar, and coconut icing with, well, actually frosting with layers of moist chocolate cake in the center. So here we have the cake jars. I love doing the cake jars because they're compact and they travel well. Also, if you're kind of trying to watch what you eat or limit how much you eat, they store very well. You can take out a serving size and then close the lid and put it right back up. Again, I'm Shampooey with Hey Sugar Sweets. If you would like one of our delicious desserts delivered to you in the San Diego area, just pick up the phone and give us a call, or you can visit us online.
Hey Sugar Sweets Southern Comfort Desserts are available delivered to your door in the San Diego County area. Just in time for the holidays, the Hey Sugar cake jars are available for nationwide delivery. If you'd like to order, pick up the phone right now and call 1-888-6-SWEETS. That's 888-679-3387. And there it is. Great project, great entrepreneur. Actually, this is her second career. She retired from the Navy and basically started, it was baking and transitioned into this project. She was at the event yesterday. Literally, the line was across the field. I mean, there were 25, 30, 40 people in line. So, yeah, she's on the climb and on the way up, which is fantastic. Anyway, I'm David Kamatoy. Last words, Del.
Oh, it's just great to be here with everybody, and to meet new folks and new exciting. I love to see entrepreneurs. I love to see entrepreneurs sing and to fly to new heights. So just happy to be with you all. And I will say, we're coming off the heels of Black History Month. Tanisha, now it's your month because I now understand that March is Women's History Month. So she gets to do double duty, February and March. So
that's fantastic. Once again, check out Del Lewis. Again, the website Triclair Holdings, and please join his email list as well as ours. Steph Gross.
Hey, thank you very much. Again, honored to be with everyone here. Just financial literacy. Just can't speak to that. Just financial literacy. Stay focused. Fearlessly forward is the way you should approach life. And thank you very much, David.
Mark Christopher Lawrence is had to bow out as well as Tanisha, but their websites are on the list. Also, Mark Christopher Lawrence, when you join my email list, you can join his email list. It's an option that I believe we still left in there. And also visit his website and join him on social media. Again, he's easily accessible there. And that is that. Once again, wait a second, where'd I go? Once again, I'm David Kamatoy. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the show. Once again, if you're just watching us, this show is basically we're live streaming, and then we'll cut the highlights of this and post it, and some of it will go to television on KZTC7 in San Diego. I'm David Kamatoy. That's Steph Gross, Del Lewis. Special thanks to Stephen Prendergrast, Encore Event Center, Presidio Sentinel, and our entire team that is not here. And we look forward to seeing the next one. We may be streaming on Wednesday, but I'll let you know. Thanks again. Thanks so much, gentlemen.
See ya. Thank you.